Okay. Greetings, everyone. I'm delighted that you can join us here today because we have some wonderful, fantastic news for you. I have been receiving so many questions regarding hypnotherapy and hypnosis that I have decided to invite profound therapists and teachers all over the world and, to provide you with some wonderful insights into the world of hypnosis and hypnotherapy. Sorry, I might not be looking into the camera all the time because I'm using a separate camera. But I want to see my guest, so that's why I'll be looking into the screen as well. So sit back and enjoy, and remember to leave any arising questions into the comment area. And of course, to click on like and share and subscribe to help to spread the word about the limitless possibilities and abilities of the human mind, body, and soul, and the beautiful healing properties that we all have, our subconscious mind using hypnosis, applying hypnosis. So without any further ado, I'm excited to introduce today's guest, James White, who is clinical hypnopsychotherapist, mindfulness educator, international trainer, and speaker. So, James, the stage is yours. And first, briefly, your name, what do you do, and why hypnotherapy?
Hi, Veronica, and thank you for the opportunity.
You're
I'm
welcome.
excited to be part of the video and knowledge that you're sharing out among the world. It's great to see people being proactive with the benefits of hypnopsychotherapy and stuff. So, yeah, I'm James White. If you were to put a title on me, and I don't like titles, but if you were to put
I
a
know.
title on me, it would be clinical hypnopsychoanalyst. So, what does that mean? It means that I'm trained in hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, analysis, counseling, and I'm also a mindful and emotional intelligence educator as well. So
Wow.
that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. And so, how did you first become interested in hypnotherapy, James?
So we need to go way back, and I'll try and keep a long story very short.
How many years do you do therapy?
So I have my practice since 2014, so 10 years this year. But I've been involved in all aspects of how the mind works, different modalities like obviously hypnopsychotherapy, counseling, CBT, mindfulness, emotional intelligence, psychology, and basically I've had an interest in the mind since about 2010. So what happened in 2010 was I was in the corporate world. I had achieved everything that I was told I needed to achieve to be successful. So I had a great job. I was up in the senior management position. Money was okay. Top of the range car, holidays 4 or 5 times a year. But every morning for probably 2 years, between 2008 and 2010, every single morning when I got into my office at about 6:30 in the morning, I was looking out my office window and not feeling happy. And I sort of put it down to it must be me. Can't be that the world is so unhappy out there. It must be something that I'm doing, or there must be something wrong with me. So that's when my journey began into looking into the mind, looking into how our thoughts and our cognitive distortions, our core beliefs, and how all of them sort of manifest without us really being consciously aware of it and dictate how we react to different situations and different things during our day. So that was the start of the journey. I then researched in Ireland. Somebody had mentioned hypnopsychotherapy to me in a conversation. So researched the whole of Ireland, looking for more information on it. Found lots of different trainings and different trainers throughout Ireland, and finally I chose ICHP in Cork with Joseph Keeney, and that's where my journey began in 2011. So then I trained with Joe for 8 years, part-time, um, and passed my diploma, advanced diploma, associate degree, and master's degree with ICHP. And this is where I am now. On the journey, I found mindfulness, which I found very interesting, because I think some people have the belief that there's a hypnotherapy or hypnosis and mindfulness are quite similar, which I'm sure we can discuss later on. But mindfulness for me sort of opened the door of, well, I have all of these tools that I'm learning to do with my mindset and my core beliefs and my cognitive distortions and all stuff like that. And then mindfulness is going to allow me actually to be just in the here and now. So that's how I am where I am now.
Yeah, in my view, mindfulness is more like cognitive, um, rather than
So I
it's
suppose,
like being aware of being here and now,
yeah,
and being aware of everything that you're doing. But when it comes to hypnosis, in hypnotherapy, when you like when you listen to the hypnosis long enough, it kind of becomes automatic. You
yeah,
it kind of goes naturally.
it's a question that comes up quite often, quite frequently. So I have,
Because,
uh,
sorry for interrupting, James. Yeah, because like there are so many therapies out there. We know that, cognitive therapies, yeah, like CBT and talk therapies and counseling and um, what else I was going to mention.
you have MBCT, which is mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. You've got
Uh,
MBSR, mindfulness-based stress
yeah,
reduction. You've got
yeah,
EFT, EMT, EMDR. There's loads of different types of therapy out
yeah.
there.
But then, um, if it was so easy, like people know the scientific research, what works and what doesn't. And then if it was so easy, like when you tell somebody to do something, go exercise, be mindful, be this, be that, everybody would be doing that.
I suppose if we just bring it back a little bit, so if you look up the definitions of what hypnosis is and what meditation is, there's many different variations of it, but most of them sort of describe it like this. So I've just got a couple here from some research. So hypnosis can be defined as a state of focused attention in which people can be more responsive to suggestion. So that's one definition of hypnosis. And then mindfulness meditation can be defined as the use of a technique to train attention and awareness with the purpose of achieving mental clarity. And there's many forms of meditation, including mindfulness, there's visualization, mantra, loving kindness, and stuff like that. So they're sort of the two definitions that are sort of out there, and everybody sort of correlates with them. How I would like to describe it is this, because I teach both. I teach hypnopsychotherapy and I also teach mindfulness. In mindfulness and the meditation, the mindfulness meditation that I would sort of connect with is, it's all about being aware and being in the present moment. So it's not actually focusing anything to do with your thoughts. It's focusing on what's happening right here, right now.
Mm.
That's how I would explain it, and nothing else. There's no analyzing anything. It just is what it is, sort of thing. Whereas what hypnosis does is, in the therapy room, the therapist and the client are working together with a challenge that the client has come with to try and understand, okay, where or why has the client got this challenge? Look into, say, as I said earlier on, core beliefs or cognitive distortions, which are um, which are affecting the client, and the client is reacting in a negative way and it's affecting them negatively. So by putting them into a hypnotic trance, what we can do is sort of shut out the outside world. So shut out worrying about dinner or lunch or whatever it is, and focus on whatever the issue is at hand, and look into it from a psychological point of view. Where's it coming from? How long is it there? What's your reactions to it? And then how can we change that mindset? So I suppose it's a bit like, if you think of it, as we grow from childhood, we build these habits, habitual reactions to different things, and we constantly repeat them over and over again. So it's like um, a repetitive reaction that we're having, even though it affects us negatively. And look, we can go into the mind in a big, deep way, talking about fight, flight, freeze, and all that type of stuff. Um, and that, I suppose, is where we're looking at. We're looking at the fight, flight, freeze responses in the clients, um, and trying to give them an understanding and a different response set that's going to be more beneficial for them, where life can become easier to navigate, or easier to manage, or easier to cope with. I don't know if that's too
Yeah.
long-winded.
Um, yeah, like today is going to be and some of the next interviews are going to be kind of covering briefly the parts of hypnotherapy and hypnosis and therapy as such, just to kind of bring some knowledge to people, because actually it's surprising that there's so much out there online, that you can actually search and get the information about hypnotherapy, but still people kind of are wary and anxious, and just doesn't know. There's kind of a misunderstanding about hypnotherapy.
Yeah,
And like I for example, I would very much focus on clients' skills and resources that they have within, to treat them, to help them to go through the journey. So why I actually went into this, you started talking about
we're looking at the difference between meditation and mindfulness and
yeah, no, what was the
hypnotherapy.
last one? I totally lost it.
Oh, the fight, flight, freeze.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Many
yeah.
people actually don't really understand
Mhm.
that term, but we will go into that actually into depth in a different
Yeah.
video, because it's really worth going into that to explain to people. And maybe if you could discuss more your thoughts on different aspects of hypnosis, like including its use in comedy, potential for malpractice, and its healing properties.
Yeah, so there's probably two different sides to hypnosis. One is the entertainment side, and then the other side is the therapeutic side. But I think you'll find that quite a lot of the hypnotists who are in the entertainment industry, especially the likes of Paul McKenna, Keith Barry from Waterford, Darren Brown in England, they would all use elements of hypnosis in an entertainment value, for an entertainment value, but all of them would also then, I suppose, they would really agree that hypnotherapy from a therapeutic point of view is very, very beneficial. And I suppose if you look at it like this, whatever we're thinking about is going to create a feeling, which could create a reaction. And hypnotherapy allows us to get inside of, well, why are we thinking that way? And we know that how we're acting. So, for example, let's say somebody who is constantly eating chocolate or sweets or sugar or whatever, they have that craving for it. Well, why have they got that craving? And then understanding, well, okay, I don't need to have this craving. I can actually still eat chocolate in moderation. I don't have to sort of binge eat it. And hypnotherapy gives us access into the deeper subconscious mind to look at why and how things are set up in the mindset of the client so that we can help them then navigate it and change that mindset. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, yeah. Like
I mean, if you look at, say, the entertainment value, if we're watching, and like I would watch, hypnosis shows on TV and stuff, we all have this expectation that there's going to be a show, people are going to get up, the hypnotist is going to make them do funny things, people are going to laugh, and usually it's great fun, you know.
yeah,
So
like
that's
laugh is therapy on its
therapy in
own,
itself, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I suppose again, if you come down to, well, what is hypnosis? And I know from our training we have sort of, it's about having an expectation, a belief, focus of attention. Do you know what I mean? So we have that sort of formula that everybody has when you're looking at an entertainment show. So are the hypnotists using hypnotherapy or hypnosis the same as we are? They are at the beginning, so in regards to getting people into trance and stuff like that, but then they're making a funny side of it. Whereas in the therapeutic setting, you're coming into a safe space with a trained therapist who is there for your well-being and your good. It's solution focus for whoever's sitting in the
Yeah,
chair opposite you as a therapist, and your work is solely about all the beneficial support that you can give this client to help them come through their challenges and grow and move forward and be happier in life, I suppose.
yeah. Like I know a lot of these things because I've studied hypnotherapy and still studying, and like I'm only like 2 years into hypnotherapy, but like you have 10 years. What I'm listening into is so that everybody can understand, to explain kind of in a simple way, because like there's a lot of scientific language out there, like say for Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and people like that, even though they explain it in a quite understandable language, but still, I want kind of more people to understand it, and just to
But I
get out
suppose
there.
Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton sort of take it into a further direction because they're looking at sort of the transpersonal stuff as well,
Yeah,
which is an element of what we would use in hypnopsychotherapy ourselves, but it wouldn't be the initial stage. You would be building up to that. The
yeah.
initial stage is, okay, why
Like people have to start simple,
yeah,
step by step.
step by step, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And they would, and
small
even though you
steps.
have, like, you've Richard Bandler and NLP and stuff like that, and there's quite a there's like a crossover with all of them, because most of what's out there is all about doing something up here with your mind, whether it's been focusing attention, whether it's about saying mantras and repetitive repeating, um everything that's out there is going to have something to do with what's happening up here in the brain.
Yeah, but it's not only about the mind.
As in,
It's like for a hypnotherapy, I don't know if everybody does that, but like I practice kind of aligning the mind, spirit, and soul.
well, there is that
Oh,
connection because there is a mind-body connection. And
yeah,
that's what I think science for a long time didn't agree with that, but they're coming in line with it now. There's lots of research being done using fMRIs and stuff like that to look at what's happening in the different aspects and different parts of the brain when somebody does something. So they actually understand now that, look, whatever we're thinking about in here is going to affect the sensation and feeling that we have in here. So
yeah,
we need to use both and work with both
yeah.
together. Yeah.
And even like, past traumas are coming out not only as emotions, but as physical symptoms
Mhm.
and behavior.
Yeah. And I think one really good researcher in that line is Gabor Mate. He's looking into the connection of what's happening in the brain, how it's affecting the body from a sensation point of view, and then if it's manifesting into an issue or a symptom, like you said.
Yeah, I've read a couple of his books as well, and he's autistic himself,
Mm.
And he was telling like how he learned. He only started like writing books after he was 50 or 60, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He was a GP. He was a doctor, like.
yeah, and he
So
didn't know what to do with himself, because he didn't understand
and at the
his
time when
own
he
mind.
started, the medical community wouldn't have looked at hypnosis as or hypnotherapy as a
Yeah.
therapeutic tool, even though if you go back to the 70s, there's a Dr. Warhol from Manchester who has been using hypnotherapy to treat IBS, and it's actually the most successful treatment for IBS out there
Wow.
worldwide, um, because it even um, the studies and the research that he's done on it for since the 70s have sort of showed evidence that I think it's something like 76% or 78% um, positive benefit rate from the clients that use it in regards to controlling what's happening down in the guts and stuff and in the stomach. So they're starting to come over to the side. So back when Gabor Mate was trained as a doctor, they wouldn't have been looking at hypnotherapy as a tool. And then look, we've had other famous doctors too use it for surgeries and stuff like that. But again, that's another story, I suppose.
Yeah. Um, eye-opening moments in practicing hypnotherapy. Like if you could share particularly a fascinating or eye-opening moment in your experience while working with clients in hypnotherapy. For example, like when clients are coming in with really simple symptoms or requests, and then some deeper root causes are
There's
uncovered.
there's many different ones, I suppose, that I could talk about. And I think for me, the the eye-opening moments for me is with every client because I'm just fascinated and amazed by how the mind can be controlling us instead of us controlling it. But like for example, one lady came to me a few years ago and she was having a problem swallowing, even drinking water. It was a big challenge. She would dry reach or she would be afraid she'd get sick, so it was affecting her work, it was affecting her eating, it was affecting everything. And I think we at the time we probably had 4 or 5 sessions on it. And in the end, then she'd come out the other side and everything was fine. She was happy out and the symptoms had gone and she was well able to eat and drink and have fun and whatever. So she was delighted. But then she rang me about 2 years after we worked together, just last year, and she said she was going for a driving test. Um, could I help with that? So she came in and we had literally one session and she went out 2 days later and passed her driving test. And the same lady worked on flying.
Wow.
She had a fear of flying. She wouldn't go away. And now she's traveling all over the world, you know, exploring the world, different parts of the world that she wanted to go to and never would go to. So always, like when you see someone come in with a debilitating challenge that's affecting their life, and affecting their quality of life. And then when you see them 6, 7, 8 sessions later and everything is turned around for them, and when they come back and tell you afterwards, say 6 or 8 months later, and come back and say, "Okay, you'll never believe I've done this, this, and this, and this," it's amazing. There was one young girl I worked with who had very much uh, clinical anxiety and it was affecting everything that she was doing. She was just finishing college. She wanted to get a J1 and travel, but she was afraid. And all of these thoughts of not being good enough and what if this happens and what if that happens, all of those things were affecting her doing anything. Now, with this client, we actually went all the way through psychoanalysis with her. So that was like 12 or 14 sessions. And again, we resolved the issues. She started being more confident and more her self-esteem grew and whatever. And then out of the blue, probably a year and a half later, she messaged me to say, "You'll never believe it. I'm in Australia with my boyfriend. I've got a job. We're on a J1, and life is so good, and I can't thank you enough and whatever." And it was just there, the sort of heartfelt moments, when you can see that change in people and their lives turning around. It's powerful, like.
But can you call out any like root causes that came up?
Um,
Like, of
you know,
course, we're not calling any names or anything, you know, but just for people to
yeah, but I mean,
understand how
you
deep
can
it can go.
you can more often than not you're looking at trauma of some
Mm.
description, and I've had sexual trauma, I've had abuse, physical abuse, I've had bullying, I've had yeah, it's
And that
really
can
bad
go,
traumas, and it can go really deep into the psyche. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And
And
then
that can go back kind of many years in the past.
look, it can be trauma. Trauma can be last week, last year, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
20 years ago. It can be wherever. Do you know, trauma is
Hmm.
trauma, and I think what people don't understand about trauma is it's trauma can be a small thing.
Yeah.
Like trauma can be a small thing, as in being in a car crash. Now I know that being in a car crash is not small, but if you have a little tip and you get whiplash or something like that, yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
that's still a trauma, just as
Yeah.
much as somebody who's been abused is.
Yeah.
Um, so
But say, for example, you know, some people say just, you know, they would just tell you, oh, come on, you know, like, I mean, regarding friends, you know, if you turn to a friend, oh, I have this and that, and then friends would tell you, you know, oh, just forget, just leave the past for the past and, you know, just move on, you know, but it's not that easy.
And I suppose, look, I'm in my 50s, and growing up in the 70s in Ireland, 70s and 80s in Ireland, there was that drive of, cop yourself on, build a
Yes.
bridge, get
Yeah.
over it. Sure, life is tough. You just have to deal with it and keep going. And, you know, what that's doing is it's not validating the trauma or the feeling in the person. It's getting them to push it down. So when they're
Yeah.
pushing it down, it's going back into the subconscious. It's not going to go away. It's going to
Mm.
manifest in some way, in some
Bingo.
shape or
I was
form.
waiting for this. I
Yeah.
was waiting for
It's
this.
going to
Yeah.
manifest in something
Yeah.
because it can't go away. Do you know what I mean? We're burying it, we're repressing it, we're not dealing with
Exactly.
it. And,
Yeah.
you know, whether, and even this, I suppose, is where there would be sort of a crossover between hypnotherapy and, say, mindfulness meditation. It is about looking at what's happened
Yeah.
and dealing with it,
Yeah.
so that you can overcome, that traumatic feeling of how you felt in that initial sensitizing event, and then build and grow and be able to get through it and move forward.
Yeah. And maybe you can go a little bit into like a one-on-one session in the clinic versus online hypnotherapy, because like it's different when we're talking about talk therapy or coaching or whatever. But hypnotherapy, people are kind of wary when it comes to online. So if you could explain a little bit about that, because as much as I know that you do a lot of online therapy as well.
I actually don't.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
I don't do a lot of it,
I
but that's a
think,
personal choice.
yeah.
That's a personal choice, and I'll tell you why. Um, so that's more to do with me than to do with the therapy. Okay,
Okay.
it's just
Hmm.
me. So if you go back to the question you asked, so one to one, you'll have your therapist sitting in a chair, client will be sitting in a chair or a couch or whatever, and where our job as a therapist is to get as much information as we can and see what it is that the client wants to work on, and then we have loads of tools and techniques and different things that we can do, different ways we can help them. But I suppose in the room itself, you're face to face, within a meter or 2 meters of each other. So you have that safety zone of being in a physical room with a physical person. It's a safe space where you can say, share, do whatever you need to do to get through whatever it is that you're trying to figure out, and it's private and confidential. We're bound by the laws of the state, the same as anybody else, same as a doctor or a dentist or anything like that. Um, so everything is private and confidential. The only thing that we need to be aware of is there's one part of the legislation which does say what we're bound by is if we, as a therapist, was to feel the client were going to harm themselves or somebody else, then we need to act on that for the duty of care to the client and the duty of care to other people. But other than that, everything is, you know, private and confidential. Regarding the Zoom or the online therapy, it's the very same. It's very like what we're doing here with me and you, where we're talking and we're seeing each other. The the techniques would be the same, the therapy would be the same, the private confidentiality would all be the same. That's why like people will really use Zoom, because Zoom has that private confidentiality already built in the back end of it. But for me, I just prefer the physical person in front of me.
Mm-hmm,
That's
mm-hmm.
just my preference. But
Yeah.
like, there's loads of therapists out there that do online therapy and it works quite well. And I've done
Yeah,
it. I
I
do.
do. Yeah.
I have done it quite. I've done it a few times. Um, like I worked with a lady in Rome. I think she lived in, and I worked with a guy in the UK, and I've had very successful sessions with them. It's just a personal preference for me that I
Yeah.
prefer in person.
It's just that, like many people wouldn't be able to travel that far,
Mhm,
or like I do, even, I have clients in different countries, and I do therapy in Latvian as well,
mhm.
because that's my native language.
Yeah.
Um, so they can't, not everybody can travel that far for therapy,
And I think
because,
it's great because you have that second language that you
yeah,
speak. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? That you can actually reach out to those people. I only speak English, so I'm sort
yeah,
of curtailed. The only thing we have to be careful of is insurance. So it's very difficult to get insurance to do online from Ireland or from any country to America. So we have to be very careful of that. Make
yeah,
sure that your insurance covers it. So
yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, what else I was going to ask you? Yeah. One of the most common questions are, can everyone be hypnotized?
the big debate.
Yeah.
so so there's many different views on this, so I can only give you my view. Okay,
Yeah, of
so my
course.
view is this: I feel that everybody has the capability to be hypnotized. I think it's down to the individual person, and some of that is to do with belief systems and stuff. So for me, I would say I think yes, everybody can be hypnotized, but I think it's down to the individual person, and it can also come down to the therapist too. But initially, it's to do with the individual client and their belief systems, and they can be scared,
Yeah. Um,
which
yeah, but
probably leads into hypnosis isn't me taking control of a client, like in our
yeah, that's another
training.
question, actually.
Yeah,
Many people would be afraid, even like, the questions would be like, would I, uh, you know, um, go too far, opening some secrets, or,
yeah.
like who's in control? They think that the therapist is in control, where, the truth
we,
is
we we
totally
know it's not
opposite,
like it. We know it's
Yeah,
not. And I
yeah,
suppose to clear it up for people, it's you know, if a client was coming to me for, let's say, anxiety, and I sat them in the chair, put them into trance, and they went, "Now I want you to bark like a dog," they would just open their eyes, get up and walk out. Probably, do you know what I mean? Possibly hit
yeah,
me on the way out, like,
yeah,
because it's not what we're there for. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So it is, the client is always in control, and the client always has an awareness of what's going on, but it's a focused awareness. And if we were to do or say anything that goes against the client's ethics or values or morals, they would snap out of us straight away because they're not asleep. And that's the other misconception. People think hypnosis or hypnotherapy is you're
yeah,
sleeping. You're
yeah,
not sleeping. You're actually heighteningly aware, probably
yeah,
more aware than you are during your day.
yeah, yeah. Um, I liked the way, I think it was Joe telling about the how the client felt the sense the smell of the fire, like something burning. I think that was Joe telling us.
Or when they were listening to an MP3, is it?
I can't remember. Yeah, but actually the therapist didn't smell the burn, but the client did.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
remember the story, but yes,
yeah,
your senses are all heightened. Like if you were listening to an MP3, say at home, which we would often give clients to reinforce whatever we were working on,
yeah,
if there was an emergency, you would snap out of it straight away and be able to attend to it. You know,
yeah.
it's not sleeping.
No, yeah, no, definitely not. And is hypnotherapy suitable and beneficial to everyone?
Um, so hypnotherapy and hypnotic trance, again, in my view, may not be a good idea for people who have psychiatric disorders, purely because they're already challenged with whatever's gone on in their mind, whether it be schizophrenia or psychotic episodes. So it probably may not be good. It may not be great to use with them unless you are using it in conjunction with their psychiatrist or whoever, which people do, where they have a whole team around them. But it doesn't mean to say that some of the techniques and tools that we have can't be used cognitively with people. So I think that's the only area that I would be, you know, really diligent and concerned about in whether they have a psychiatric condition or not.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I think it is of benefit to those people who can be hypnotized. Yeah.
And is there any moment in your life with um, like experience in hypnosis that kind of was like a light bulb moment or something, awakening or something, like something that came true to you that you didn't know before?
Well, like
um
Veronica, my life has totally changed because of hypnotherapy. Because I had no self confidence, no self esteem, no self belief. If you had have said to me 15 years ago that I'd even be coming onto a Zoom conversation and having an interview like this, I just wouldn't do it. Teaching people in a classroom, not a hope was I going to be center of attention or center stage. And I don't know if you remember, but like one of the biggest things that I've done in a few recent years is I actually presented in Bahrain to a room of over 200 people, and I was standing there in the middle going,
wow.
oh, you know what I mean? So it's totally
Yeah,
changed my life. It's totally
yeah.
changed what I do. It, obviously, from the work perspective, it's what I do as my job, and because I love it. But I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't know that it would work. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proof in the pudding of it.
Why I'm asking, because I know from my own experience, like I only came across, not that I only came across, I knew, like my husband studied hypnotherapy with Joe Keeney about 30 years ago. And he practiced hypnotherapy for about 7 or 8 years. And then he went a different route. But when I started, my first insight into meditation and hypnotherapy was after I got into a car crash in 2019, after which, like, my life also totally changed. But my experience was I was lying in bed listening to the recording, and a few minutes into, or half an hour into the tape, and I started laughing. And why I started laughing, I just suddenly knew that there's something more
Mhm.
than just me.
Yeah.
It was like a bingo, like there it is. It's like a lightning moment, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
enlightenment or something, you know, it's just, it was, and I never had that before.
yeah. I suppose my one was I was doing psychoanalysis. I was having it done on myself, and I was brought back to when I was 7 in school, and how I was being treated by a teacher because I hadn't done my homework and I wasn't great at remembering stuff. And I think it was a poem we were doing, and I was asked to recite the poem and I didn't know it, so I was brought up to the front of the class in front of 44 other boys. Um, I was beaten up by the teacher
Wow.
and put in a corner, not facing the wall, facing the rest of the students, as the teacher began to ridicule me and tell me how stupid I was. I'd never be good enough. I'll never make anything of myself. I'm a waster. All of those things, and there was some um, bad language in it as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that was sort of when I was doing my own analysis of myself. I was brought back to that time, which I wouldn't have consciously thought about or been able to tell you about, only for it was brought through using hypnotherapy. And that was the moment where everything to do with me believing in myself and confidence was wiped out. And then it was a constant, habitual habit of different things happening throughout my school years and after that. So that would have been my aha moment to realize, actually, hold on a minute. You know, at the time, I think I was like 40, I was 42 or 43 when it happened,
Mm-hmm.
when I had that enlightened moment. And it was like that realization of, hey, you're 43 years old now. You're no longer that 7-year old. You know, you've come through life with all the different experiences you have, and you have got strengths. You just don't look at them. You keep looking at all your negatives. Do you know what I mean? So that was the aha moment for me.
Yeah.
It's powerful. Like,
Um, I'm just looking for, I can't find, I had it there for a quote. I wanted to quote Milton Erickson. Uh, I can't find it, but I can't remember it exactly, but what he said, that hypnosis is not about pleasure or entertainment, but about going deeper, like self-exploring.
so Erickson and Carl Jung, they both go into the transpersonal side, or the, like you said, the body, mind, and soul side as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's, and again, that was through their, as they were working and building their practices and doing their research and getting all this knowledge and wisdom, they realized that, okay, it isn't just about the mind, like you said at the start, or it isn't just about the body. It's about both of them, mind, body, and spirit. Um, and look, you could get loads of different quotes from, they're enlightened men, yet totally two different types of therapists. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Uh, why to choose a therapist over a friend to talk to?
Um, it's a good question.
Of course, it's good to talk to a friend as well, but
Yeah, absolutely. Um, do you know, we have that saying that it's good to talk. It's been going around now in the mental health area
mm,
for years, and absolutely, it is good to talk. I suppose rather than saying, so how I look at it is this: I think that friends and family, when you talk to them, they will try their best to um, help you or give you tools to manage or cope with whatever it is. However, some of that come from opinions or advice, and sometimes the opinion or advice may not settle or sit with you as the person with the challenge. And that's where, say, a therapist, we're trained into looking into what is it that you actually need. So what is it that Veronica needs to hear or
and
needs
without
to
the
do,
judgment,
without the judgment of me,
yeah,
without
or
my
opinion,
opinion,
yeah.
or without my advice, really? Do you know what I mean? the answer, I suppose, is inside all of us. And I know that can be, woo, that's a woo woo thing, but it is inside all of us. We actually have so much intelligence inside of ourselves that we just don't realize because we don't tap into it enough.
Yeah. And also, I believe that we shouldn't be using friends as therapists, like overburdening them with our problems, because everybody has their own. And when you're not trained to kind of have some boundaries, it can actually uh, make the friend upset, or their problems might inflame because of that, because of the reflection.
Well, there is that element too, and I suppose we're all friends of people, and if you look back before you started training and understanding the mind the way you understand it, we would all try and help in some way. That's why we've ended up in this area of work because
Yeah,
we're what I would call carers, who have the well-being of whoever it is that we're working with at heart. But
yeah, but
bec-
we went through the learning experience, through the education, to actually cope with other, dealing with other people's
But,
issues.
yeah, as we've been qualifying
We've
and
been
doing our
trained.
and doing our training, we've gone through
Yeah,
all of that psychological knowledge and wisdom and whatever. Yeah, absolutely. And people can tend to take on the burden of somebody else.
yeah.
Um,
But also in training we go through our own analysis. We do, so we are
well,
not.
in ICHP we do,
Yeah.
not in all training schools.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's part
Oh,
of our ethics. Yeah.
that was actually another question I had for you. Um, how to choose the right hypnotherapist, because I know that some so-called therapists, they get certified, like having a week's course or weekend courses, or like
I mean, I think it's with anything. It's the same as if you're going to get someone to do some building work in your house. Do your research and make sure that they have been trained by a reputable training school. Make sure that they've put the time into it. So you know yourself, if you go to college to be um, an architect, you're going to do, I don't know what it is, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of college. So if someone has done a weekend course or 2 weekend course, and they're going to be looking at your mindset and your psyche, are they qualified enough? Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure. However, that isn't to say that there's other therapists out there. Say, there's psychotherapists and counselors in their own right who may do a weekend or a month's course on hypnotherapy to add it to their toolbox. I don't think there's any harm in that because they already have a body of knowledge.
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
someone who's gone from being delivering bread to doing 4 or 6 days of a course and then it's going to work with your psyche. I'm not sure, but look, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's different structure. I would say just do your research and look at the credentials, look at the schools of training, look at the testimonials and the websites. Just do your research, do you know what I mean, and ensure that the person is trained. And like you said, for our training and quite a lot of other training that's out there in the mental health area, you should be working on yourself to find out your own stuff because you're going to learn from that experience and that's going to enhance then you as a therapist when you go into the real world with
Mm-hmm.
real clients because not only will you know about different things that say psychologically affect them, but you know where you've come from and you've looked at your own stuff, and
Yeah.
I think it's an ongoing thing. I don't think, like as I said, I started training in 2010 or 2011, I think it was, with Joe. And, even though my training is finished with Joe, I still continue training.
Of course. Yeah.
I do training every year in
Yeah.
different modalities, or
Yeah.
go and meet different people, different experiences. It's an ongoing learning. It's ongoing learning. it's continuously ongoing learning. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you should
I
be
know
doing.
for myself, and
Yeah.
like I'm so fascinated by hypnotherapy that I actually even studying with Joe Keeney. I've been doing Mark Tyrrell's courses.
Yeah, yeah,
I've studied with some fantastic Russian psychologists, and I just, I'm fascinated.
yeah, yeah,
It's just I can't have enough. I just I think we've been frozen. The
yeah.
screen's
No, no, it's good.
yeah,
It's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, uh, what else?
I
Just
think just sorry for interrupting. Just a quote from Milton Erickson has just come to me. So he has a quote that says, "You use hypnosis not as a cure, but as a means of establishing a favorable climate in which to learn." And I
yes,
think that's the other thing. I think clients also have this um, misconception that I don't need to see a therapist. Sure, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not mental. And it doesn't mean that coming to one of us, whether it be a hypnotherapist or a psychotherapist or a
yeah.
counselor, it doesn't mean that you're broken and
You don't have to
you need
be.
to be fixed or you need to be cured.
Yeah,
It just means that you have a mental challenge, which everybody does, and you need some guidance and support in how to get through it. That's all it is. To simplify it,
yeah.
like.
And some people just come for curiosity. What else I can do for myself. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that
Um,
one. Sorry, I'm
so
laughing about that because you can have the person. No, I've tried
because
everything else.
we laugh, about ourselves. It's and we have to. We have to have a
Yeah.
laugh. And um, if you could briefly explain to people in a simple way what happens when somebody comes to a session and how many sessions would they need and
Um.
the
So
procedure of the.
I'll go on to how many sessions do they need first. So it depends on what the person's coming from. It could be one session. It could be 1 to 4 sessions. It could be 1 to 12 sessions. It depends on what it is that the client wants to work on, and how much they want to invest, not money, in doing the work that it's going to take to come out the other side.
Yeah,
That's from a session point of view. So, for simple things like smoking, fear of spiders, um, fear of flying, that sort of phobia sort of stuff, somewhere between 1 and 4 sessions generally. But when you're looking at something that's actually taking over your life or affecting your life in a very negative way consistently, like anxiety, um, that definitely would probably somewhere between 8 and 14, 8 and 12 or 18, 14 sessions. And how I work anyway when a client comes to me, session one, they come in. It's usually session one is about an hour and a half. Every other session is somewhere about 50 minutes to an hour. But the first session, you're taking a lot of information, you're getting to know each other. I'm trying to build rapport with the client that they're actually going to, you know,
of course.
trust in me and feel safe with me and whatever. So there's lots of information gathering on that session. And then depending on what they're coming from or coming for, then it will I will give them obviously a demonstration of how their imagination is so wonderful. Then I will probably put them into their first hypnotic trance as such, and we would follow and say the Milton Erickson
Hmm.
and BCAP's model there, or the HP model. And then I would work on whatever they were coming for. If it was fear of flying or it was giving up smoking, there would be specific sort of um, um, I'm looking for another word, but scripts, I suppose, that we would have embedded in our training and learning that we would use to focus on that specific area. And that's how session one would generally go. And then it will depend on what they're coming for, what happens in the next session. A big thing is again, a misconception is we don't have an A to Z manual where session one is A, session two is B, session three is C. It depends on what comes in when the client sits down in their chair and what's coming forward from them. We have to then, in the moment, because it's solution focused and client focused, choose what is going to be work for that client at that moment, rather than, oh, this is what I'm going to do next week, or this is what I'm going to do the following week. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
We're trained to deal with whatever emerges in the moment, in the
Exactly.
session. But at
Yeah.
all times, it's about creating a safe environment for the clients. Does that answer?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. And okay, I think we've covered pretty much for today. And I will have you back, James,
Yeah.
if you agree, and we can go through some different topics
Hmm.
regarding hypnosis and hypnotherapy, and yeah, going deeper into some topics, because it's really I think actually I'd like to do the next one with you with the going deeper into the fight, flight, and
Flight
freeze.
freeze. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's very
Yeah, it's a big
it's
driver.
a yeah, yeah. So maybe you can provide some contact details where you can be found, and if you're on social media, how
Yeah.
people can find you if they want to choose you
So,
as a therapist.
yeah, so I'm based in Cork, and my contact details are on Facebook. It's API Clinics. On my email or my website is www.apiclinics.com, and yeah, all my details are on there.
Okay.
My testimonials, the different things I do.
Yeah.
And even if somebody just wants to reach out for a question, by all means, shoot me a message on Facebook or wherever, and I'll get back to them.
Yeah.
There's one quote that sort of sticks in my mind from when I was training, and it's never left me. And it's from Joe, even though he doesn't sort of take onus for it, but it is from him. And
Yeah.
what he says is, if you keep doing what you keep doing, you're going to keep getting what you keep getting.
Yes.
Something needs to change, and hypnotherapy can help you change.
Perfect.
Cool.
I think that's a perfect rounding up. So,
Good.
James, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much
much
for the
for coming.
opportunity.
And thank you very much for coming and giving people some insights into the world of hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And hopefully people find it helpful and beneficial rather than entertaining. And although it's entertaining as well.
It can be.
Yeah. So, yeah. So see you next time, James, and keep in touch. And
Yeah, see you in a few weeks, and thanks for the opportunity,
yeah,
Veronica. It was great, and it's great to see people like you doing this.
is
I wouldn't it wouldn't be for me, like.
well, that's my
And your background, yeah,
journalism,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
journalism background. um, Maybe there's something very shortly that you would like to say to people, to the audience,
As in,
just like a conclusion.
um, yeah. So I suppose I like this sort of. I can't remember where I heard it from, but I sort of, in my training courses, stuff like that, when I'm teaching others, I like them to sort of take on board that you're worth it. So each and every one of us are worth it. If you put the time in, you're worth it. You deserve it. Um, and you can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve once you put your mind to it, and put the work into it.
Yeah, exactly. We are all worthy of all the beautiful things that
Yeah,
world can offer to us, and we just need to be receptive. We need to allow
yeah.
ourselves to receive.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
great
Thank
stuff.
you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for listening, and thank you very much for watching. And leave the comments click on the like and share and subscribe to help us to spread the good word about beautiful benefits of hypnotherapy. And see you next time. Bye. Have a good day.